Good morning. Welcome to our final day of the Women of Power Summit. I stand before you all in awe of the exciting activities and information shared this week. Because of your powerful voices, we're trending everywhere. So thank you for using hashtag BEWPS on your Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook accounts. Every year, we raise the bar to bring you the best event possible. But I must say that achievement is not done in a vacuum or without a lot of support. Our partners that support this event are equally responsible for the success of the Women of Power franchise for 15 years. I cannot express enough that the success of the Women of Power Summit is due in no small part of those who serve as our sponsors, as our partners, the many sponsors who wholeheartedly believe and support your journeys, and we would like to recognize them at this time. Beginning with our title sponsor, ADP. ADP has sponsored the Women of Power Summit for the past 6 years and as title sponsor for 5 of those 6. ADP also presented the Portraits of Power wall and provided the Smart Fitness Tracker for all attendees. Special thanks to Debbie Dyson for her continued support. Our presenting sponsors, Accenture, who is sponsoring today's 50 most impactful women in business over the past 50 years Power Brunch. Dell hosted Conversations That Count, featuring principal dancer, American Ballet Theater, Misty Copeland, on point. and Gilda Squire, founder, Squire Media and Management. PepsiCo helped energize our attendees with daily breaks of beverages and snacks and hosted Thursday evening's Legacy Awards Gala honoring Debbie Allen, Gail V. King, Deborah Lee, and Myrtle Potter. Pfizer hosted Power Lunch. Pfizer hosted Friday's Power Lunch and Conversations That Count, the myth of the Black superwoman, the importance of self-care and sisterhood, featuring Dr. Frida Lewis Hall, Chief Patient Officer and Senior Medical Advisor for Pfizer, and Felicia Rashad, 2017 Legacy Award honoree and award-winning actress. Toyota, host of the 2020 Legacy Awards pre-reception and House of Toyota. To our platinum sponsors, AARP will host today's Conversations That Count, Career versus Everything, Even That Ticking Clock, featuring showrunner, television creator, and director Mara Braca-Keel and author, social activist, and entrepreneur Jody Patterson. AT&T, who powered the summit's live stream and events app. Bank of America hosted last night's Young Executive Mixer. Dow Chemical. Estee Lauder Companies. Google hosted the Post-Legacy Awards Toast and Friday morning's Conversations That Count, Still Standing, Relevance, Leadership, and Legacy, featuring award-winning actress, director, and producer, and 2020 Legacy Awards winner Debbie Allen, and Executive Vice President and Chief Administrative Officer of Nationwide, and the 2020 Barbara Graves Legacy Award honoree. JP Morgan Chase & Company hosted our group wealth creation sessions. Macy's, host of the shopping excursion and Elevate Your Style coaching sessions. And yes, just in case you were wondering, Macy's dressed me today in this dress that I just love. Macy's also dressed my colleagues Caroline Clark and Alyssa Gums. Morgan Stanley hosted our one-on-one financial coaching sessions. We welcome Starbucks, the Starbucks Corporation, as one of our new sponsors, and Walmart, host of the Spark Studio. Okay, and to our corporate sponsors, new partners, American Express, Apple Inc., Deloitte, DTCC, and McDonald's Corporation. And thanks to our returning corporate sponsors, Apple Inc., Georgia Pacific, MGM Resorts International, who hosted our Sponsors Appreciation Lunch, Twitter Inc., who provided our custom emoji for the Women of Power Summit, FedEx, who provided shipping services for our summit attendees, and Southwest Airlines welcomed you at our registration area. Please join me as we special thanks to our strategic partners, Capital One, Eli Lilly, Equitable, Liberty Mutual, and Nationwide. Please join me as we acknowledge the 2020 Black Enterprise Women of Power Summit sponsors. Again, it was truly a pleasure working with all of you, and I look forward to planning the 2021 Women of Power Summit. Just before we begin the first of our Conversations That Count, I'd like to remind you once again that Black Enterprise has set its newest endeavor in place and plans to launch it later this year. I'm referring to our first annual Women of Power Tech Summit taking place in San Francisco, September 29th to October 2nd. Please take a look. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the first of our Conversations That Count this morning, featuring the incomparable Past Legacy Award honoree, Donna Brazile. Donna returns to engage us in conversation about our current political climate and much more. She has twice served as the interim chair of the Democratic National Committee and former Vice President Al Gore's campaign manager in 2000, making her the first African-American woman to run a campaign for a major party presidential nominee. She also worked on the presidential campaigns of Jesse Jackson, Walter Mondale, Dick Gephardt, and Michael Dukakis. As political commentator, we've watched her on CNN, ABC News, and now she lends her political knowledge to Fox News. And right here with us, Donna is joined this morning by our own President and CEO, Earl Butch Graves Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming one of the most prominent political strategists in our recent times, Donna Brazile, joined by Butch Graves.
Good morning. Good morning. Who that? Who that? Amen. Amen. I'm so glad that God got y'all up this morning. And y'all better stay up. Over the next 241 days, if you're not up on your feet and voting, let me tell you this, you'll be on your knees for the next 4 years, so stand up and vote. Stand up and vote. But these sisters brought a white man back from the dead. Joe Biden was dead politically. He was broke, busted, and disgusted, but you black women decided that y'all wanted to revive him. Y'all provided his campaign with momentum. And let me tell you this, when he is elected president, he promised to put a black woman on the Supreme Court, so y'all better get your resumes ready. You know.
Well, good morning, Donna. I'm glad you're
Y'all know this is my baby. He had a beautiful mother. I love his mom. I love his dad, of course. But this is my baby here. Whenever he sends me a text message, call me, I'm like, okay. So he said, I need you in Las Vegas. I said, well, I've been to Vegas twice already. He said, but this is the third time, Mr. Charm. I'm here.
Yes, you are.
I'm here. Hallelujah.
So, Donna, I appreciate you coming here for the third time, as you said. For those of you who were here the last few years, Donna was one of our Legacy Award winners, most deservedly, just a few years ago. So, Donna, congratulations to you on being one of the previous Legacy Award winners.
What a great honor. What a great honor. Thank you.
I don't want to make the assumption that everyone necessarily knows exactly how you got to where you are now. Because people do. They see that you're the position that you're in within the Democratic Party or above. But I'd love you to give some background on your family, which is very, very important to you, and most recently very important to you,
Yes.
and how you got to where you are now briefly, and then we'll drive right into everything else.
I noticed he said briefly.
Yeah, because you could talk about your family for a half hour.
I could talk about my family for the rest of my life because they're such a beautiful family. First of all, what a great honor it is to be back here at this very important summit during this important time. Women's Empowerment Weekend, Women's International Month. Ladies and brothers who are here to back us up, I started my political career at the age of 9, growing up in a city right outside of my birthplace, New Orleans, Louisiana. I knocked on doors because I wanted to make a difference. And here I am now, 60. Yep, this is what it looks like. Hey, hey. I started my political career because I wanted to make a difference, from working to make Martin Luther King's birthday a national holiday to working on Jesse Jackson's campaign, which paved the way for us to elect our first black president of the United States, Barack Obama, in 2008. I am still engaged in the political process because my mother and my father raised all 9 of their children to have an impact. We have been through so many storms, as those of you who know about the golf course. The storms that have destroyed our lives, the storms that have blew away some of our dreams and possibilities. But because of our faith and the fact that we will never, ever stop believing in hope, my family and all of our families continue to persevere. And so I am here today because I want to encourage you to stand up and make a difference this election season. Without our votes, there's no way anyone can win. We are that powerful. And the reason why I started off by saying you resurrected his campaign is because you did. And if you continue to vote in historic numbers, come Tuesday, November 3rd, you are not going to be on your knees. You're going to be rejoicing, and then the next day you get on your knees because it's going to get, you know what. But this is the power of black women voting in 2020. Vote. Because if you vote, you put somebody in that White House who will return your calls, who will put you on the agenda, who will give you a seat at the table. And yes, I do believe there is a candidate of the remaining left in the Democratic Party that stands to make a difference in this election cycle. So, Butch, thank you for having me back and for having my back.
Let's jump in. This is why I invited Donna. You also. She cannot have coffee. She cannot have coffee.
I sure enough, because any more sugar in my body, brown sugar, y'all know what's going to happen. And the Easter Bunny is not welcome in my house. I get nasty when I see milk chocolate.
Just saying. Okay, so.
Look, my heartbeat right now is about 124. It can go to 160. So, baby, whatever you give me, I can put it back out because I got a good heartbeat. This works. Oh!
You're looking good, Donna, too.
I'm like James Brown, I feel good. And I ain't on nothing. Although everything you want here is legal. And let me say something, ladies. There's a superstore, and they got one that's called Relief. There's one for Calm. But Butch, there's one called Arouse. And I'm like, well, it's just my knees that hurting. I bought all three just in case. I want some relief from my arthritis. I want to be calm in this storm, but just in case I need to get aroused. It's legal. I got it. I got it. I got it. Okay, I got it. Right. And what harm can, look, with this coronavirus that everybody, we have to be very prayerful. They say, wash your hands. Our Father who art in heaven, now be done. And then you have to moisturize, so you got to say your prayers twice. But then you have to get aroused. Or you need some relief. You got to be calm. Okay, I'm calm.
Okay, you calm now.
For now.
I'm going to be careful.
Ooh, yeah, you shouldn't touch a match that's already lit.
Pearls of wisdom. So, let's talk for a moment, beyond arousing all of the 1,000 women we have here today. Let's talk about the current state of the Democratic contest now, because it started out with 22 people. It's down to effectively 2 people. But you had very strong opinions on everything, but very strong opinions about what was needed for the Democratic Party to win in 2020. Because this wasn't about, I just want to be a candidate.
Right.
You really wanted to have a candidate who could win and who could replace the gentleman who's currently in office.
Correct.
And I use that term very loosely.
I understand.
Tell us about what's the current state of the Democratic contest right now and why it is dangerous to some degree,
yes,
to use your words, if the electorate happens to go in a particular direction.
Thank you. Well, first of all, as President of the United States, it is very difficult to unseat a sitting president. So Donald Trump today would have the best path to re-election. And I say that knowing that Donald Trump won by less than 78,000 votes in 2016. Donald Trump has been able to essentially strengthen the campaign and the coalition that elected him in 2020. And all he needs is 6% of black folks to stay home. All he needs is for white women, college-educated women, to do what they did in 2016 in rejecting Hillary Clinton and supporting him. And Donald Trump can basically coast to victory with the coalition, the 30% of Latinos who voted for him in 2016. So Trump has an easier path than anyone currently still considered viable. On the Democratic side, we have 2 candidates, as you all know. We're down to 2 with the path toward getting 1,991 delegates. Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders. Now, how did we end up with Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders? that would take me another 40 minutes, because if you looked at the Democratic electorate, we should have given Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Julian Castro, even Andrew Yang another shot, but they didn't have a path. Joe Biden had a path because he's the former vice president, and he inherited a piece of the Obama coalition. I say a piece because in order to win, he needs all of the Obama coalition and then some. Because the electorate is changing every day that we are on this planet. So let's assume that Joe Biden, since he's the delegate leader right now, continue on the trajectory that we have seen him over the last week. It's only been a week because Joe Biden was left for dead. Bernie Sanders had the momentum going into Super Tuesday, where more than a third of the delegates were decided. So Joe Biden will not only need to recapture, rebuild, and expand on the Obama coalition, he will also have to go back to those 3 states where Donald Trump took the bricks out of the Democratic wall and to rebuild those 3 states so that he has a path of getting 242 electoral votes. But Joe Biden has to also try to secure North Carolina, Florida, and possibly one other state to get there. Can he do it? Absolutely. Can it be done? Absolutely. But it starts with everyone in this room understanding the power that we have. Because of the 270 electoral votes, black women can help put over 100 electoral votes on the map. And if we become persuasion targets, not just turnout targets, and their resources put, when I say resources, I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about information. I'm talking about using technology, all of those great gadgets and tools to educate and inform us of our vote. Joe Biden can not only secure the 270, but he will bring a wave of new Democratic voters into the process. And like you saw in 2018 when Nancy Pelosi used that wave to become Speaker again, Joe Biden can enable the Democrats to retake the Senate and to essentially keep the House. That would be a game changer that we need to start talking about.
What is the...
And I'll say something about Bernie, because you know...
Right, so what's the path for Bernie?
First, let me douse this flame inside of me. Y'all know I've known Bernie for a long, long time. Bernie was with us during the Jackson years. And that was very important because not many progressive candidates came out in support of Jesse Jackson. Bernie Sanders was there. So I give Bernie props for that. Bernie has a coalition that is basically younger voters, more liberal voters, some college-educated voters, but not enough to build the kind of coalition that you need to win a Democratic primary. Now, Bernie insisted in after 2016, Butch, to remove the superdelegates from the table. He said essentially that we are elitists and we should not decide who the nominee should be. So the rules changed this year as a result of Bernie's insistence that superdelegates, yes, I'm one, he insisted that we not be part of the recipe on the first ballot. I believe that was a mistake. You know why it was a mistake? Because that sent a message to voters of color, especially black voters of color, that we don't matter, that we can't be in the sauce, or we can't be part of the recipe until it's over. And I don't know about you, but after you have cooked or barbecued, you don't put your seasoning on last. You put it and you marinate with your seasoning. You cook with your seasoning because you know it tastes better, right? So Bernie's path is to try to increase youth turnout. As of today, this surge of young voters have not materialized. There's been a surge of older voters, voters over 50. There's been a 10% increase. There's not been a 10% or even a 5% increase in young people. So in the short term, Bernie has to now decide if he's going to go to states like Mississippi, Louisiana, Georgia, Florida that are still holding contests, or will he continue to pursue states like Idaho, North Dakota, Washington State that may not have many delegates, but they're also majority white. So this is going to be a strategic decision of the Sanders campaign going forward. Can he expand his coalition? Can he try to broaden his base to include just more than young people, but also some of us who are over 50 and look like me?
Let's, which is an impossibility at 60.
I want love.
Right.
At my age, I need love, okay? I've been told all my life that I could never become successful. I was told because of the color of my skin that the ceiling was here and I could never break through barriers. And for me to have been able to get my behind up and get a seat at the table and you're gonna take it from me and I'm gonna give you some love? Hell no. No, 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 no. All right? How many of you grew up poor? How many of you grew up in what we used to call assisted living or in housing that you could not even walk in without fearing for your life? And for all of us who are homeowners, who have made some of our lives, who have made our parents and grandparents proud, to listen to a candidate who basically says, we're the problem. We're not the problem. We are the future. This is what the American dream looked like. And so to attack people based on their wealth, I'm not greedy. I believe that capitalism should be equitable. I believe that it should be ethical. But I'm not going to destroy capitalism for something that I don't know will solve our problems. So I'm going to stick with what I know. Now, can we improve our economy? Can we make sure it works for everyone? Absolutely. Can we take those barriers down? Yes. But we can do it in such a way that do not divide the company. We have a president who wants division. I don't want a candidate who wants more division. That's all I'm saying. But I love him. I can love a man without, thank you.
Being in love with.
I love him.
So this is, as you mentioned, this is Women's History Month.
Yes.
There were 3 women candidates who were a part of this process.
6 total.
6 total, but 3 at the, I'm going to call it 3 at the very end.
Yes.
Or towards the very end. What is surprising to me is that the women are the majority in terms of eligible voters, and women are the majority in terms of those who actually vote. Yet, college-educated women and some non-college-educated women have not been supporting female candidates. The question is why? Why is it that Elizabeth Warren could only get 10 to 15% of women to vote for her, while others, male candidates who did not spend a dime, okay, were getting female voters to vote for them? There is some responsibility that women have for supporting women candidates. I'd love to get your point of view in terms of what has happened.
From the time Shirley Chisholm made her announcement in 1972 to become President of the United States, we knew that women had to not only be in a quote-unquote progressive lane or a moderate conservative lane, but we also had a special lane that had potholes, roadblocks, detour signs, and the like. In 2020, the new pothole or the new barrier became electability and likability. Now, we saw Hillary Clinton deal with likability. Let's be clear, Hillary Clinton was the most viable female candidate in American history, period. Experience, check. The ability to build a coalition, check. Money, resources, infrastructure, check, 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 check. Then it came down to likability. Do I like her? What about her pantsuits? What about her hair? What about her cleavage? I mean, the nonsense, and of course, her emails. The nonsense that we saw in 2016, the misogyny, the sexism, often coming from not just male pundits, but also female pundits. Fast forward to 2020, the most diverse field of candidates ever in American history. And let's just for the record say this, the most experienced group of female candidates also in American history. Kamala Harris, a senator from the largest state in the country. Amy Klobuchar, a woman who has never lost a race and the first female elected from the great state of Minnesota. Elizabeth Warren, who, by the way, should be on the Supreme Court. If not, I want her to be the top prosecutor in this country because, Lord have mercy, the way she took Bloomberg down. Y'all remember the day when y'all mama told y'all to go get a switch? She told Michael Bloomberg to go get his switch, and she didn't switch it. And he's like, yes, Elizabeth, I will release my taxes. Yes, Elizabeth. I mean, oh my God, yes, Elizabeth. Hey, all right. This is the most talented group of women. And Kirsten Gillibrand from the great state of New York. Marianne Williamson, the author, and Tulsi Gabbard, the member from the state of Hawaii, who, by the way, is still in a race with 2 delegates. So, hey, that's 2 more than Andrew Yang, all right? But this is something that we also have to study. Because when women candidates run, they must overcome not just the traditional barriers that women have faced in becoming elected officers or officials, but they also have these new barriers. Electability. Electability is who can beat Trump? Well, in every poll, most of these candidates, including those who dropped out early, meaning Kamala and Cory, the evidence was there. You can go back and look at the polls. They could all beat Trump in the so-called battleground states. So they checked that box. But you see, if you check one box and not the other, likability. Now, let me ask y'all a question. Why is likability our issue that we have to overcome? All right? I'm not asking you to marry me, just elect me president. Most men think that we want some marriage. Hell no, I'm single. Thank you. And I don't need your ass to walk me down the aisle. I'll get there myself with my heels. But likability is a hurdle that we have to overcome, not just with male voters, but with female college educated. We somehow look in the mirror and say, but that's not me. I don't use my hands this way. That's not me. I don't wear pantsuits. That's not me. I don't like her hair. Get over this. It's going to take us another 100 years to get to full representation if we don't stop majoring in the minors. We are the majority of college-educated citizens. We're the majority of eligible voters and the majority of actual voters. So it's our votes that matter. Nancy Pelosi is speaker for the 2nd time in American history because of the vote of women, suburban women. Now, combined with black women, we can and should put someone in the White House who respects us, who will help us in this long battle toward equality for all. I don't want to wait until 2059 to make the same amount of money as a white man. I'm sorry. Look, I want my money now, and like my mama used to say, put it on the table. That's what she used to tell my daddy, put it on the table. She didn't want to touch it until he put it on the table. Put it on the table, okay? Put it on the table. So we need to understand it has taken us 100 years, women, to get to 25% of state legislative seats. It has taken us 100 years to get to 26% of congressional seats. If we don't start accelerating the pace of change, it's going to take us another 100 years. And I don't know about you, but I ain't got that kind of time. Because as I heard, Jesus served wine, and he turns water into wine. You know I got to make that date at some point, okay? Because they're up there stumping grapes for me. But we need to accelerate the pace of change, and women, we are the difference in every election cycle. Don't forget that.
I want to talk about another important group in the election cycle, and you and I briefly talked about this last night, and that is the millennial generation. And I've heard a lot of different things, and people are strategizing on any number of different things. It's a question of how we're going to get the millennial generation, enthusiastic and energized for the election. But here's the challenge. When they look out and they say, well, here's the final four, and I'm putting Bloomberg in what was that final four. 78-year-old white man, silver hair, 77-year-old white man, silver hair, 78-year-old white man, really silver hair, and a 75-year-old white man with orange hair. But everything they're looking at is somebody who's 75 plus. There's nothing that they can connect to or say that I can relate to in some way, shape, or form. So how is Joe Biden, if he in fact is going to be the Democratic nominee, going to resonate with this next generation, or any of the candidates for that matter, going to resonate with this next generation?
That is a very important question, because the majority of the electorate, for the first time in American history, the majority of voters are millennials or Generation X, Generation Y. Look, they're younger than me. They outnumber us baby boomers, the great generation, and the solid generation. So they have an awesome responsibility to use their political power to help shape America's future. And I think it's very important that whether it's Biden or Bernie Sanders or even Donald Trump, as I said, two bald men and one with a weave, it is vital that they talk to our aspirations and to inspire this generation to use their political power. Look, young people have to do several things this year. One, they have to get out and vote, and they have to be the difference. The story should be that for two times in this century, twice in this century, young voters turned out in such record numbers that they elected the first African-American president and the oldest president. I'm sorry, that's the reality, okay? Young voters, they have the political power to do that. I think they are going to have to be challenged, and they are going to have to be inspired, and the nominee of the Democratic Party will have to put somebody on that ticket that is half his age. I'm sorry. I mean, the qualifications say 35. There are many 35-year-old plus that are qualified to be on the Democratic ticket, and I think that's the first message. The second one, we need to understand that this generation wants more out of government and more from their leaders than previous generations. And so we're going to have to talk about those issues that Bernie Sanders has raised. And that is, we got to do something about college affordability. Right now, young people are dealing with $1.5 trillion worth of college debt. We have to do something about rising income inequality. We have to do something about quality of life issues, from healthcare all the way to education, and preparing a generation for the 21st century marketplace. So I think that the president, or whoever this candidate is that we're going to nominate on the Democratic side, have to speak to young people, have to bring them into the room, and have to ensure that they're at the table. And we need to let young people know that all across this country, whether you're looking at state houses, local races, there are young people who are flourishing, who are leading America's great cities. And their time is coming. And we need to make sure that they know that they will have a seat at the table. Otherwise, if they stay home, we lose, period, because they're the majority of voters. But we're going to have to go out there with a persuasion strategy, not just turnout, but a persuasion strategy. One last thing. I watched in 2016 as the Russian propaganda effort targeted young African Americans. Now, they targeted us. Why did they target us? Because they know what I'm telling you. If these voters get out, they can put somebody in the White House. They put Obama in the White House. They put President Obama in the White House. And they targeted young African Americans with a massive disinformation campaign. We have to be on the lookout for this campaign to reemerge in 2020. And essentially, it tells us not to vote or to stay home. Now, we need to counter that with positive messages about the power of our vote and what we can do once we vote. And I just hope and Butch, I say this with all honesty, I love politics, but I'm also a realist. I just hope that the Supreme Court do not overturn the Affordable Care Act before we find a vaccine for this coronavirus, COVID-19. Because if 137 million Americans are left without health care during this crisis, we're gonna all be in a world of hurt. And so we have to also put this out here so that young people understand what's at stake. You know, I was in line yesterday coming out here, and I was listening to some kids. Yeah, they were kids. I teach at Georgetown, I teach at Howard, thank the Lord. I'm having my first Black experience. And they were saying, oh yeah, but we don't have to worry because it really impacting old people. Old people are dying. And as they were talking, one of the young persons said, but my parents are 60. And then I finally looked around and I said, and I'm 60. I felt like saying, that's why your ass is not in the TSA line and you in that long ass line. I'm pre-checked. I'm pre-checked. Your ass sitting here for a reason. So we need to do a better job of talking to our young people. They're sitting there thinking that they're immune because of their youth. But what's life without mamas and daddies? What's life without sisters and brothers? And so we have to do a better job of engaging them, y'all. We have to engage our own kids, our own nieces and nephews. I engage mine. For Christmas, but you would be surprised what I did. I rented a house on the Redneck Riviera. I just wanted to have fun with white people. I invited all my nieces and nephews, and boy, did I find out about what they drink. Get a big old gallon of Tito's. They're all over 21, of course, so, but Auntie Donna's sitting there drinking her little red wine, sippy, 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 sippy cup, sippy, sippy, sippy cup, and they're drinking their Tito's, and I'm like, are y'all gonna vote? I don't know. I said, really? Who bought the Tito's? Who rented the beach house? Who made sure the gumbo is here? Now, why y'all not gonna go out there and vote? Because I'm 5 years away from my Social Security. And if I don't get my fixed income, I'm not gonna invite y'all back. Y'all gotta talk to y'all young people. Don't y'all stop acting like y'all can't get engaged in the conversations that they're having. I so enjoy that week with my nieces and nephews. I have 17 of them. It's humbling, it's refreshing, but most importantly, to engage with them is to learn about the future and then to be a part of the future, even as some of us get older in age. So engage them. They are so powerful. They're going to lead this country, and let them know by 2032, the electorate is going to shift, and they're going to be the leaders we've been looking for. But if we don't prepare them today, they will not be in line to lead this country. So let's prepare them. That was a long way of saying, we sure enough need their asses.
We're going to go to Q&A in a few minutes, or in a moment. But this is not, 2020 is not just about the presidential campaign. And I think that we get so caught up in the presidential campaign, we lose sight that there is very important congressional races and Senate races. And there is a chance, let's put aside the presidential election for a moment, because Trump sort of has an inside path to that. But there's a chance that, that both the Senate, the House, and the executive branch could all swing and be in one state. So talk about the importance of having both the congressional, of us voting for the congressional races as well as the Senate races, and what is the impact, because that impact is actually, it can be longer than the presidential impact.
I want everyone in this room to take a deep breath. It's something we should do anyway every day. But since his election in 2016, Donald Trump has appointed almost 200 federal judges. That impacts all of our lives. 200. He's also appointed 2 Supreme Court justices. The so-called liberal wing of the Supreme Court, the average age is about 70-something years old. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you know, Justice Breyer. I mean, we need to be cognizant of how important it is to retake the United States Senate. Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Senate right now, is sitting on more than 300 pieces of legislation, much of it dealing with issues that you care about, from education to health care to sensible gun safety measures. He's sitting on it. And he said recently, if Trump loses, nothing will get done. Now, nothing is getting done because the Senate is essentially Donald Trump defensive linemen, his entire defensive team and offensive team. So the Senate is important. There are 34 Senate races, 34. The path that the Democrats are going to take, 22 Republicans and 12 Democrats. The path that the Democrats will take is to try to win open seats, but also try to be competitive in 5 Senate races. It takes 3 if the Democrats take back the White House. So from Maine, Susan Collins, to North Carolina, Tom Tillis. Democrats are looking at one of the seats in Georgia. Democrats are also looking at Colorado and Arizona. Now, there are other states in between that Democrats will look at, but those are the key states. And now Montana, with the decision by Steve Bullock, the governor of that state, who's a Democrat, to challenge the sitting incumbent. So the Senate races are just as important as the so-called presidential electors to get to 270. So if you're in one of those so-called Senate states, please pay attention to the upcoming Senate races. In terms of the House, I think based on what I'm seeing now in some of the primaries, Nancy Pelosi is going to be in a good position to retain those seats. But remember, many of the seats that she won in 2018 came from suburban districts. And in suburban districts, it wasn't so much the Democratic turnout. There was Republican women, educated, college-educated white women switching to vote for Democrats. That gave Democrats control of the United States House of Representatives. So we're going to have to be very strategic about all of the races in 2020. In addition to the politics, we also have to be focused on the census and make sure that we're all counted, and real ID. Real ID. Remember, if you don't have a real ID with that star by October, don't sleep on this, ladies and gentlemen. Please go and make sure you have your real ID, and tell your folks and your family and your coworkers, everybody get a real ID, be counted, and go out to vote.
Okay, we're going to open this up to Q&A. Please go to the mic, and no statements, simple, short questions, please.
I just checked. I didn't get anything. Did you?
No. And I don't want you to all think we were being rude, but
no.
The reason we were looking at our phone, or we even have it here, is we're expecting a call from Vice President Biden, who's going to call in and chat with the entire group. So if he happens to call, I think we'll take his call.
Yeah.
Hi.
Go ahead.
I'm Tylisa Shields, Apple Information Security. Can you talk a little bit about Stacey Abrams or Val Demings as VP candidates?
Wow. I love Stacey. Stacey is, I hope she is going to be on a short list for a potential VP nominee. You know, the only qualification other than the same qualifications you need to be president is that you're able to be president on day one, just in case. So I think that she should be on the short list. Stacey is doing enormous work around this country to ensure that we can protect the right of all citizens to vote. She is working, Fair Fight is in multiple states across the country to ensure that no one is purged, that we don't have the long lines that prevent people from voting, that we eliminate all of the tactical things that prevent people from having their ballots counted. So Stacey's doing an enormous job in that area. She should be on the short list. I wish she would run for governor again because she opted not to run for the United States Senate. But Stacey's one of the women to watch in the future. And thank you for your question.
And what about Val Demings?
What about who?
Val.
Val Demings?
Yes.
Oh my God. Now Val, woo, you know, the one thing you got to give Nancy Pelosi credit, and there's so many things I can say about Nancy Pelosi because I respect her and I love her work. Nancy put Val on that impeachment team. She put Hakeem Jeffries because she wanted people who knew how to fight and prosecute the case. Val Demings has a future, and I hope she's on the short list as well. Thank you, ma'am.
Please speak up so we can hear so that the audience can hear your question.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Charlene Polite-Corley. I'm from Nielsen. Thank you again for all your years of service. My question is related to you saying we need to accelerate the rate of change in order to really see that impact, and I appreciate you talking about the need to bring out those young people as well. Can you talk about the Biden policies that you feel that will really accelerate our pace of change?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Look, think about this crisis we're going through right now, this coronavirus. And the fact that in some cities across this country and in some countries across the globe, people are having to telework, work from home. We need to make sure that we have policies that enable us to do the kind of work that will be required in the future. We need paid leave. We need to make sure that we have healthcare policies so that in states where you have to have co-pays just to get a test for the virus, that we can eliminate that. So we need to have progressive policies, everything from healthcare to education. I think that is an issue that we're going to have to put on the table, to dealing with climate change. I mean, we forget that we're in a climate crisis. And this is an issue that African Americans, people of color, also care about. It's not just a white folks' environmental justice. Where are all of the toxic waste dumps located, okay? I mean, so I think on the progressive scale, we gotta embrace many of those issues that Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren championed during their presidential race. And I also believe it requires leadership. So education, healthcare, criminal justice reform, climate crisis, if we can, income inequality, if we can put all of those issues on the table, we will have not only a progressive agenda, but we will have somebody who will inspire us to make those changes once he's elected. Unfortunately, it's going to be a man this time, again.
Thank you.
Hi. Good morning, Ms. Brazile. My name is Tamika Isaac Devine. I'm an entrepreneur and at-large member of Columbia, South Carolina City Council, which our Senate seat, Jamie Harrison, will be in play as well.
Thank you for mentioning Jamie. He's a friend.
I've been on our city council for 18 years. I'm still the only African-American female serving on our council. And I wanted to know if you could talk about the importance of building a bench and getting particularly black women involved in local races, mayor's offices, county and city council members, so that we're building that bench so that we have people going up.
That is the key, because I believe that unless we put women of color in that political pipeline, especially black women in those areas where we have the numbers but we don't have the people in the pipeline, we got to put more black women in the political pipeline. That is, we're going to have to encourage black women to run. We're going to have to provide resources. We need more role models and mentors so we can ensure that once they do run, you are now a role model, you are a mentor, and you have the ability to go across the state of South Carolina, across the South, to encourage others. The first thing you need to do is tell your story. Who encouraged you to run? How did you win your election? You know, how much money did it take, and how did you raise that kind of money? We need to demyth. We need to take all of these so-called stories out there and tell these stories so that we can, you know, rebuke all of these lies about what it takes to run and win and succeed in office. And now that you have a seat at the table, you have to bringing in a folding chair to make room for others, because that's the key. And by the way, my brother lives in South Carolina, so thank you so much for your leadership.
Young lady in the back.
Hi. Can you hear me? Okay.
No, speak up.
Okay.
Speak loudly, please.
Okay. So this is my first year actually being able to vote in a presidential election. So as someone, as someone who grew up in like the Obama era, how do you recommend that I can like avoid the noise and the misinformation coming from like the two candidates we have, and just make the most informed decision?
Where do you live?
I live in Maryland.
Oh my God, you're going to be voting next month, and you're going to be one of the states that will finally, put the nominee on the path to getting 1,991 delegates. Maryland is a very important state. You should run as a delegate if you still can. If not, you should ask to be an alternative delegate. When I was your age, I'm sorry, I was your age at one point. I didn't just wait for somebody to call me. I actually showed up. I showed up to serve. I showed up and requested to get a role. When I worked on Jimmy Carter's campaign at the age of 16, I wasn't eligible to vote, but I was working to ensure that we elected Jimmy Carter, and we did. And by the time I got to college, of course, I was his youth coordinator for the state of Louisiana. So I'm encouraging you now to get involved, to stay active, and perhaps come to the convention as a delegate. You can come as a delegate, or you can come as a page, whatever role you wish to play. And if you don't know who the people are in Maryland, Yvette Lewis is the person I will connect you with. Let me know. I'm DonnaBrazile.com or DonnaBrazile@me.com, whatever you want to do. But I'm listed, okay? I'm still listed. Now, don't call me too late at night. Okay? Early in the morning, I'm up until 10 o'clock. After 10 o'clock, when I get my wine, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. All right? But we need more young people. Why you? Because there's no one better. Why now? Because tomorrow's not soon enough. We need you. So I'm going to encourage you. And besides, politics is fun. I've traveled to every state in this country but one. I've worked on 10 presidential campaigns, 56 congressional campaigns, House and Senate, 19 state and local campaigns. One more state, I'm going to become Miss USA without the bikini. You don't want to see my black ass in that tight stuff. Oh, hell no. I am not Lizzo. Lizzo put her dirty behind on a dirty chair. That's nasty. Tell her I said it. Nasty, Lizzo. Don't do that. You can't sanitize that stuff like that. No, 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 no. But I like her music. That's my girl. I love me some Lizzo. Hi.
Hi. I'm Dr. Wendy Labat from Atlanta, Georgia, and I have already voted. But I wanted you to clarify about the real ID. I met a lady at the airport from Chicago, and I asked her, did she have the real ID? She said, well, I have a passport, so I don't think I need that. But when it comes to voting, are they going to accept a passport as a valid ID this election and moving forward?
Well, in every state, they're making incremental changes requiring in some states voter ID. Some states require voter ID just to register. Some states require more than just one form of identification. The real ID is a national priority that I think all of us need to be cognizant of. Now, yes, I have my passport, I have my traveler's card, and I have my real ID. I just think that because of the changing nature of the politics of this country, everyone should just go ahead, if we can, get that real ID to ensure that we have every form of ID. Some states do not even require a voter ID in order to cast their ballot. Just recently, the courts in North Carolina rejected it as racist, part of a racist, pass. Do you know in Alabama, one man couldn't vote because he had a $4 outstanding fine? So everyone needs to be up to date on what the new parameters are, the new criteria of voting in their own state. And you can go to iwillvote.com to look and see. And Michelle Obama, thank you, Michelle, is going to be launching When We All Vote, so that she will also use her power and her voice to amplify the need to ensure that we have all of the proper identifications in order to secure our votes.
Thank you.
Thank you, love.
Before we go to that question, I have a question that came in a text message, and this was not Biden, but it was another influential figure who wanted to ask about the economy. He said, because what's happened is Trump has been able to very cleverly make it seem that he has in fact taken the economy and made it like it's never been before. Taken full credit for, because people forget that in 2008, or 2007, 2008, when Obama was elected president, just the doldrums of the economy that we were in and how terrible things were. Now, be careful what you ask for, because he said, it's the economy, it's the economy, it's the economy, and it's never been so great.
Right.
In the last 2 or 3 weeks, found out the economy's not been so great. And it's moving south and moving south fast if we look at the markets.
Right.
So what do the Democrats need to do to make the narrative be that we are about the economy? We are about trying to make money in capitalism and wanting good things for our families and to build wealth, because the Republicans have been able to very cleverly make it seem you have a choice. You can either choose capitalism or socialism. And somehow or another, I don't think the Democratic Party has been effective enough in saying, no, we have done great things with the economy. We're great at being able to help build jobs and build wealth in this country. Talk briefly about how does the Democratic Party make the economy become the focus and not some of the other things that it's been narrowed to?
I do believe that the economy will be front and center this fall. And it's always, if my old raging Cajun friend James Carville remarked, it's the economy, stupid. It's going to be the economy once again. When Barack Obama became president, many of you recall the country was in a deep dive. We were on the brink of a major depression. He saved this economy with common sense policies that not only benefited Wall Street, but also benefited Main Street. He took this economy from losing almost 80 to 100,000 jobs a month to bringing it back with 15 million jobs over an 8-year period. When President Obama left the White House, the unemployment figure had gone from 10% to 4.7%. Trump has taken it from 4.7% to 3.5%. Now imagine that. 10% to 4.7%, 4.7% to 3.5%. And they don't want to give President Obama any credit. Okay? So we need to ensure that the next president of the United States understands that we need an economy that works for everyone. Just because the market goes up to 27, 28, 29% doesn't mean that everybody, day-to-day income is going up. The majority of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and we have, I would say, more than 60% of Americans who are one illness away from bankruptcy. So while we focus on where the market is, we're not looking at where everyday people's lives are. I'm going to tell you one story before I go. And he knows it. 2 weeks ago, my baby sister, who was born with a congenital heart defect, she was told she had to have surgery. And she said, well, and she put it off because of her copay. One of my sisters called me and said, Zilla doesn't want to go and see the doctor because of copay. My sister Sheila died because she was afraid to call 911 several years ago. And because of that, she had a heart attack and she died. I called Zilla. I said, where do you bank? She said, Chase. I said, I'm going to do your copay. You go have that surgery. A week later, I'm here in Las Vegas. Another sister, I'm one of 9. She had a headache. Her right eye dropped. They found out she had a cerebral aneurysm. It was leaking. Healthcare is on the ballot every time. She's leaving the hospital today, and I told Butch I'm leaving early because I got to go home and make groceries for her. This is about our health, and yes, this is about, I am grateful to God that I have made it, but I have not made it by myself. I made it with the help of others, and I got to continue to help other people. So don't be fooled about a stock market. Yes, I make money on the stock market, but I also know people who live paycheck to paycheck, who are afraid that they don't have co-pays and therefore don't see the doctor when they need to see the doctor. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is real. That's why I'm still involved in politics. That's why I go out there every year of my life to tell people it matters who's voting. Because when your family's on the roof after a storm has made landfall, who's going to get them off the roof? Who's going to rescue them? Who's going to take them and give them shelter and food and housing? Don't wait until you are in a storm and waiting for somebody to come and rescue your family to get them off the roof. That's why we can't let nobody tell us it's good, but black unemployment is so low. But black unemployment is low thanks to Barack Obama. And we got more people with health care thanks to Barack Obama. Don't y'all forget what that president did, because if they allow you to erase his history, erase what he did, you'll never have hope again. We lost an election, but you cannot lose hope, ever. And you know the facts. You know the facts. Because when I'm on, that's why the other day I had to tell that woman to go to hell. Don't tell me my facts. I know my facts. I know who I am. And I have a responsibility, not just as a sister, but a responsibility as an American. And that's what we all have. I'm sorry, but you know. Now, Butch, I'm going to tell you something. I love my family, but it ain't just my family. You know, before I took that plane, I had this big old bag. Now, I'm going to tell y'all some stories. Y'all going to laugh about this, but this is true. I sometimes take the soap, the lotion, shampoo, and I bring it to the shelters in D.C. When I can't fit my clothes, I take that to the shelters. I know when my Jiffy cornbread expire, I take that to the food bank. God has blessed me. A little girl born on a bayou to a maid and a janitor, God has blessed me. But I want to be a blessing to others. Everybody in this room, y'all can be a blessing to others. That's who we are. Don't go sit in church on a Sunday and say, God, I love you, and then on Monday, turn your back on the poor. Don't look good for Jesus on a Sunday, and then when you can't fit them, saying, well, I'll get back in the size 10. No, you ain't. Give that up. You got 4 coats, give 2 of them up. Lead by example. We are the future. God has put us here for such a time as this. Esther wasn't, y'all read Esther. I ain't gonna tell you about Esther. Y'all feel your power. She saved her people. She said, if I perish, I'm going to see that king. You all say that every day. If I perish, I perish. But I'm going to see that king. That is what God has given us. God has given us grace and power and strength and love. And if you don't use all of them, you can't make a difference. God got you in those corporate seats. I heard you at Accenture, AT&T. I heard you. I know why you are here. But when you go back, take something with you and give it. Give it back. I showed up today because when I told Butch and Carolyn and Tina what I was going through, they encouraged me. I showed up today because 2 years ago when I was here, when I was left for political death also, you brought me back, Butch. You brought me back. I can trace my rise back on the political stage to the moment you had me here, Butch, with my sisters. You all gave me my power back.
Ladies and gentlemen, Donna Brazile.
Thank you. And remember, Corona ain't gonna kill us. Slavery didn't kill us. Jim Crow didn't kill us. We faced the Ku Klux Klan. We have faced storms. We have stood the test of time, and if God be with us, nobody can be against us. Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Donna, for your candor and for joining us today. Let's give her and Butch another round of applause. Lastly, I'm happy to announce that our Black Men Excel Conference, the Black Enterprise Groundbreaking Leadership Excellence Conference for Black Men, returns for year 3 this October. Please take a look. BMX will be held at the JW Marriott Turnberry Resort and Spa in Aventura, Florida from October 29th through November 1st. Ladies, please share these dates with the special men in your life and your male colleagues, and we welcome you to join them. Thank you. I am now pleased to turn our program over to our Chief Brand Officer for the Women of Power Summit, Caroline Clark.
Just let me know, and then I will do this right on stage.
Thank you, Renata. Good morning again.
Oh, okay, hold on, y'all.
Okay, you kidding me, right? Y'all were hooping and hollering. Donna Brazile was up here, and I'm like, good morning. Good morning. Thank you, thank you. Once again, can we just give it up for Donna Brazile? We all needed that. We have another great conversation in store for you, compliments of our wonderful friends at AARP. So please, we see you. So please join me in welcoming the Vice President of Multicultural Leadership, African American Black Strategy at AARP, Shani Hostin.
Good morning and welcome to what I know will be an exciting conversation this morning. I'm Shani Hostin, and I'm Vice President of Multicultural Leadership at AARP, and I am truly, truly blessed to lead our African American and Black strategy work. AARP is committed to the African American and Black community, and we recognize and celebrate the role that we women play, from the writer's room to the boardroom and beyond, which we've seen here this week. We are especially proud and honored to collaborate with Black Enterprise for this year's Women of Power Summit. And we thank Caroline, Butch, and the entire Women of Power team for 15 years of powerful programming and sessions like we've had this week, to the powerful pearls of wisdom that we continue to hear, and sharing really unique experiences that have been uniquely curated for us. What a gift it has been. This next session continues the conversations that count, career versus everything, and even that ticking clock. And not only does this theme align strongly with our mission, but Mara Braca-Keel and Jody Patterson are both turning 50 this year, and they too look amazing. We are so excited to hear from these trailblazers as they share our insights from some of their life lessons that they've learned along the way. And speaking of turning 50, we would also like to take this time to recognize Black Enterprise for turning 50 years old. And as you probably know, 50 is an important age at AARP, and you may have even received something in the mail from us as you've turned 50. We are the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to advocating and empowering Americans 50 and older to really have a voice in how they live as we age, and we're all aging. AARP is a global thought leader. In aging, we have major national presence across the United States, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. And Mara and Jody, like many of you, exemplify what our CEO, Joanne Jenkins, calls disrupting aging. And we've heard a great conversation this morning about disrupting aging as well. AARP is changing the conversation of really what it means to age. We're empowering people, especially those that are 50 plus, by providing tools, resources, information, panels like you'll hear this morning, to really help to increase our financial well-being and live life more happy, productive lives as we all age. And is what we call at AARP our health, wealth, and self strategy. In October, we launched our tribute to She Rose, and we teamed up with the Ad Council to launch a new retirement campaign designed helping Black women ages 45 and up boost their retirement savings and savings in general as we save for our what's next or our side hustles. We have resources and tools that were in your swag bags or gift bags today regarding Ace Your Retirement. And I encourage everyone to really use those resources and take the 3-minute free digital tool online to help get more information. Again, aceyourretirement.org/SheRose. You may have also seen our digital newsletter, Sisters, and Sisters from AARP is written by Black women for Black women. And it celebrates real talk for real sisters and looks for information and provides information on style, health, travel, and a lot of the topics that we're talking about here today, career, relationships. So again, I encourage you all to sign up for a free digital newsletter subscription and also follow us on Facebook and on Instagram, Sisters from AARP. So again, we are proud to partner with Black Enterprise on this amazing Women of Power Summit. I continue to be excited and inspired coming to these conferences. It's truly a unique opportunity. And as we continue our conversation today on disrupting aging and explore how we all can live our best lives as we age. So thank you, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the conversation this morning.
Thank you, Shani and AARP.